Hey everybody, this is Elliot with Modern Music Studio. Today we're going to go into kind of how to use effects on each of these tracks. I made this beat in the last tutorial, so if you're wondering how any of this came to be, just check out the last video. So effects are kind of, they're things you throw on each track to affect the sound or change the sound, or yeah, pretty much is that. So to get to them, you're going to come over here, you click this button, it opens up your menu. And we're going to come down to categories. Ableton has this audio effects section, and this will show you all the effects that come with Ableton. If you have plugins or third-party VSTs, those will show up here. They do the same thing that Ableton's effects do, but they're just created by a different company. I recommend sticking with Ableton's effects as much as possible because they're extremely low latency and they take up not that much CPU. Whereas you start to get into other effects, they start to take up more of your CPU and your track will slowly become laggier and laggier. And if you're recording on top of it, it just makes it harder to record because of the delay in your headphones. So we're going to start with this piano track right here. Let's give it a listen. Or actually, I'm going to kind of separate some stuff out really quick. So I'm going to open this or duplicate it. Let's take the beat out for the first part. And we'll do something like that. So here's the track. Take the loop off. And there's our beat. So let's start off with this piano. A pretty popular effect that people like to use is called an LFO. It's a low frequency oscillator. In this case, we're going to go to Ableton's auto filter. It's just a pretty simple plugin. It just lets you change the filter of Ableton's instrument or track that you put on it. So check this out. So if you like that kind of underwater sound, it's used pretty often. You can get it by using this filter. But what I want to do is actually make that underwater sound, but have it kind of open and close a little bit. And how you do that is you come over to this LFO section, and you can choose how intense it is with this, how fast it is with the rate, and let's just ignore the phase for now. So now I'm going to turn the amount all the way up, meaning it's kind of doing the most it can. And then the rate, I want it to sync to my beat, essentially. So I'm going to hit this note button. And you'll notice it turns from hertz to notes, like 1/16th or 1/4, quarter note, etc. And now when I hit play, you'll notice nothing's really happening. It stays the same. But if we turn this down, what's happening now is the LFO is moving this button or this little circle thing back and forth. You can't actually see it, but it is doing it. And you can choose how open you want it to be, or how closed. So super cool sound. I like using that a lot. Yeah. And then as far as our drums go, let's see here. I want to add a little bit of we'll say EQ, I guess. And we're going to kind of achieve the similar effect, but I'm going to just kind of cut out the mids or something just to kind of give it a cool little sound. And let's see how this sounds. And yeah, I'll kind of just work with that. EQ just affects frequencies. So say you want the high end to be like super loud, you can turn it up using number 4 here. You just kind of move it up and down or drag it back and forth. But I'm not going to go too into EQ at the moment. The point is more just to show you how you drag and drop effects onto this stuff. So the next one is I'm going to put some reverb on the drums, a little bit just like put it in a space essentially. So in our audio effects section, we're just going to hit reverb, double click it. If you have the track selected, double clicking it will just drop it instantly into the effects rack. If you do not have it clicked, you have to drag and drop. But we're not going to do that for now. Alright, so quick note with plugins is a lot of them have this dry wet knob right here. What this knob does is it chooses like how much of the dry signal do you want versus how much of the wet signal. So you'll notice when I have this turned down to 0, we're just going to hear the dry. So no effect at all, no change. If we turn it all the way to 100, we're just going to hear the effect, which doesn't sound that good. But if you find some middle ground in there, it's going to sound pretty awesome. And here's the A-B. Here's with the effect, without. You can turn the effect on and off by just clicking this little yellow button right here. Coolio. So that's a super quick little tutorial on how to use effects. You can put them on MIDI tracks, audio tracks. You can also throw them on groups as well. So say we group our tracks. We're just going to do these our drum track, our drum group, I mean. And let's, I don't know, we can put something crazy on it, like a phaser. Probably sound really weird, but let's hear it. And you can just go crazy and make super cool sounds. Alright, now the next thing I want to go through is automation. So automation's a pretty important part to producing your own music or recording or just kind of controlling what you want to happen in real time with these effects. So you'll notice on our piano track we were just messing with this auto filter. And say like at the beginning we wanted to have it sound super underwater, but when the beat comes in I want it to feel a little more open and a little more kind of just like natural in a way. So what we're going to do is we're going to automate this filter to open up by the time it reaches this section right here. And it's pretty easy with Ableton 10. It's a little different than Ableton 9, whereas when you go into automation, you have to go into automation mode. All you have to do is hit the button A on your computer keyboard. It's not happening. Let's see. There we go. If you have your computer keyboard set up to be like a MIDI controller, you have to unclick that for it to turn on. Vice versa, if you right click the parameter and just hit show automation, it will also bring up this view. So now we have my filter selected. As I move it up and down, you'll notice this red bar up here is moving with it. And we can control where that red bar is. So I'm just going to click on it and it inserts this little point. This is called a hold point. And you can insert as many as you want, so you can get pretty crazy with your automating. But we're just going to come over here and I'm going to put it down at the bottom, kind of where the song starts. And then you'll notice as the song progresses, this filter knob is going to slowly turn up till it gets to about full over here. And let's just hear how it sounds. So that's kind of how automation works. Quick note, if you don't want to do this slope thing and you really just want to do like a kind of maybe like a section, you want this whole thing to be super underwater, a trick there is if you go into draw mode, which you just right click, hit draw mode, or you just hit B, you get this little pencil tool. And you can just click and do whatever you want, but it's pretty easy if you just want to do something like do the whole thing at the very bottom. So that's kind of here's what that will sound like. turned it down just a little too much. Let's turn it back up a touch. Alright, so that's automation in a nutshell. Thanks for tuning in.